And boom, we're recording. Hi, Mary.
Yeah.
How are you
Hi,
today?
TJ. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm tired and sore, but that is par for the course. So,
That's,
now you are Nurse Mary, isn't that correct?
yes.
All right.
Yes, that is correct.
And we met in the Arate Syndicate, which is a coaching group to help
Hmm.
entrepreneurs like us get our poop in a group. And we've had, I think, one call thus far as
Yes.
what getting your poop in a group looks like from a YouTube slash social media standpoint, right?
Yes.
And you have a really cool origin story that you were telling me the last time we spoke, and I was hoping that you could recount that for all the people who don't know who you are. Like, how did you get to Nurse Mary status now? Like, how did you get here, and what do you do?
Okay. So I was a cardiac ICU nurse for 13 years at Bellevue Hospital in New York City, famous hospital, oldest public hospital in the country.
Wow.
And I left to create a cardiac wellness program. Both of my parents died of heart attacks before I became a cardiac nurse, and I thought, oh boy, I want to protect myself. And I learned nothing about prevention, protecting myself, and I started to seek out other avenues of learning on a holistic perspective because you and I have a lot in common in that you create tactical medical supplies and tactical first aid kits and things like wound care and surgical care and postpartum care. And these days it doesn't hurt to have a prepper mentality. And I grew up in California, earthquakes, so I always had all that in my
Mhm.
car. And so, anyway, so I left the hospital and bedside care, and I, a friend of mine called me, which spurred this all on, and she said, Mary, I have to have open heart surgery.
Mm.
And imagine a doctor telling you, in your current condition, you're fine, that your valves had been radiated and they were no longer good in your heart due to a cancer that you had and a radiation you had 20 years prior.
Wow.
So, and your heart has to be able to receive, healthy enough to receive the new valves. I said, girl, I got you. I got you. So this was the creation of my program, was beta testing her, and we had the luxury of some pre-op time. So we worked together pre-op and then recovering her post-op. And she's done beautifully, and she's like my star person that has come through the program and created the program. So out of that, I wrote a book, and
Hmm.
it's called Heart to Soul Cardiac Wellness, and that's my primer for people
Where,
to.
where does the book live? Like, if I wanted to go get the book, where do I find
It's
it?
it's on Amazon, Heart to Soul Cardiac Wellness, or in Barnes and Noble online as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, I self-published,
That hold
and
on, don't just skip over that because that's not a little thing. You self-published a book. So you're clearly a very driven person because most people do not self-publish books. In fact, I have a sister that runs Deborine Publishing, where she publishes other people's books, and I know 10% about how much work that is. So for you to self-publish a book, that's awesome. That speaks to the type of person you are. So good job on
oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I was hammering away in the gazebo out back here during
that.
COVID. I mean, I used my time during COVID. I left right before COVID,
Hmm.
and my unit at Bellevue Hospital became the first COVID unit, actually.
Mm.
So I heard firsthand of what was going on there. So out of this, I created a cardiac wellness program. And um, because it's a holistic approach as opposed to a medical approach. I pick up where traditional medicine leaves off, because what happens is in any disease process, you go in and you're diagnosed and then you're prescribed,
Hmm.
and there's no plan to get you off medications. And it's not the doctor's fault. This is the way that they've been trained, and people do what their doctor tells them to. And so the trick is getting people to understand that your body is not dependent on medications. It's not deficient. You're not
Mm.
deficient in statins or beta blockers or anything like that. And as part of our wanting to be independent from the medical system and from societal constraints and to be in charge of our own health, the goal for my patients or my clients is to get them off medications. And how do we do that? We look for all the different avenues that could be contributing to their heart disease, because heart disease is the number one cause of death in America,
Hmm.
yet it's preventable and reversible. So if it's a number one cause of death, shouldn't that be a national emergency?
I think it should definitely be a national emergency, way above and beyond some of the other things that have been declared national emergencies.
Hello, thank
Yeah.
you. And it's not because it's the biggest money maker. So 1 in 4 people die,
Wow.
one every 36 seconds in America,
Wow.
650,000 a year.
Dude,
So
okay. And so you have a way to deal with this holistically as compared to here's a handful of pills.
yeah.
That's awesome. I was just at the doctor this morning. My spine is a wreck, right? Not my heart, my spine. Heart's good, praise you. But I told the doctor this morning, I said, look, I don't want to be a cripple in a wheelchair. I also don't want to be addicted to opioids. I also don't want shots and I also don't want surgery. What can we do? And he's like, maybe there's a PT, a physical therapist that can help. Awesome. Sign me up for that. Let's try that. Because I'm a little distrustful of the medical industrial complex, and I've known way too many people who have ended up on opioids that it just wrecked their life. And
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that road. I'd rather be awake and alert and in pain than, be literally become a drug addict. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think that's cool that you have a protocol, a system for heart health that is away from prescribed medications and more holistic. So you're treating this with like food? How do you do this?
Well, I'm happy to talk to you offline too about your situation, because I already had ideas running through my mind for you. Um, but as far as getting back to the people with heart problems, and I'm also helping people who have been injured by the inoculations that they took. No judgment. People did it to save their lives, their families, their livelihoods, but now they are facing some dire consequences. So we're helping them as well. But if
Wow.
you think about it, heart disease doesn't start in the heart.
Okay.
Disease process doesn't start in the heart. So if you think about your mind and your mindset, that is so important. Now, if you're under stress and you continue on your hamster wheel of stress and the same thoughts, and you get up every day and you're replaying the same thing, over time, this turns your body into a state of unease and then gradually disease.
Mm,
Okay. And so, in the case of the heart and what we talk about, and we start with mindset, because patients are discharged from the hospital. Say you were asleep in the middle of the night and you had your heart attack and you
mhm,
almost died. They're afraid to go to sleep.
mm.
They have what's called anticipatory fear. They're anticipating another event. They've had their autonomy stripped away from them. They're leaning on someone. They don't know if they can be the family provider anymore. Um, they just lose confidence in their body. They book vacations next to hospitals.
Wow.
So this is a whole, they're depressed, they have PTSD. And I discharged thousands of patients during my career in the hospital. And you just said, good luck. Here's your medications, here's your doctor appointments, here's your upcoming tests. Change your lifestyle, but nobody can tell you how. And that's that. So
So there's
part
like
of the,
a trauma response to this event.
there sure is.
Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. I
Yep.
mean, it's not cool that that happens. It's cool that you know that. That's awesome.
Yes. And it's just unaddressed. So we start with mindset and getting people calmed down, because if your mind is in that frame, then what's that going to affect? It's going to affect your digestion, your stomach, your other mind, your other gut,
Mm,
gut feeling. And so if your gut is not working right, then you can have something called leaky gut, or ulcers, and that can turn into leaking out into your bloodstream toxins. And what happens is that ends up getting into your arteries and tearing them up. And then what happens is cholesterol is needed to come. It's like a road crew. It comes and patches up all the artery walls.
You
So,
used this analogy the last time we spoke, and I love it.
yeah,
It's a great
yeah,
explanation. Yeah.
yeah. So there,
So
so
keep going.
yeah, so the cholesterol's out there. It's working hard. They've got the little bulldozers. They're patching up everything and all the potholes. And then we throw statin in there.
Mm.
And the statin takes away the liver, makes cholesterol. It says, dudes, you're not getting enough vitamin D. I don't have cholesterol. We can't make hormones. There's not going to be any testosterone from the men in the group. Okay, so everything's all related. So the statin cuts off that capability. So now you have arterial walls and maybe other plaques are forming on it.
Mm.
And the cholesterol is actually helpful. We're giving people statins. It's the most prescribed drug in this country. And we talked about this just a little bit. What brain? Okay, I gave it away. What organ uses cholesterol? The brain.
Yep.
So if we're taking away the cholesterol, we're taking away the body's capacity to heal the arteries, and we're taking away the brain's need for cholesterol. And so now we have this disease process of Alzheimer's at this high. And so
Yep.
I think this is all kind of planned. I do.
Mm.
I'll say it. I
Yep.
think it's all calculated. And so yeah, so we have good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. And I just want to say that and then what happens is you have inflammation in the arteries, and inflammation is good. As you know, as you know, the medical profession, if you cut your finger, you want, your body's so smart, when we get out of the way, it'll seal itself up.
Yep.
If you have some kind of organism in your body triggers a fever to kill that. So our bodies know what to do, and they're self-contained mechanisms. They work to get to homeostasis, which is a steady state of well-being. And what happens is we interfere with that with all these medications and actually make the body sicker.
Mm.
And so you know, if you think about the heart, we know 75 hard.
Yep.
But if you think about the heart and why this is so important to take care of your heart and to be independent and from medications, not only due to supply chain, but also like yellow freight is out of business.
Yep.
So a lot of our medications are made overseas. They come on containers. There's nobody at the ports. There's no trucks at the ports to pick up the containers. So people get into dire straits here if they're dependent on medications.
Yep.
And if you think about the heart, we were talking about 75 hard a second ago. Your heart beats almost 90,000 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
90,000 times. That's it going like that. We can't do this for more than 5 minutes with our fist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's over 80 years. And it happened before birth, it started.
Yep.
It pushes swimming pools of blood through our body in our lifetime.
Wow.
And yeah, if you think about 5 liters a day, you know, and so we have to make the heart do that workout like it's lying in a hammock. So we got to make it easy. We got to make it easy for our friend. So how do we do that?
So is PT a part of that? Like physical training, like cardiovascular, weightlifting, or obviously it depends on the person, right? Because some people are going to have different, you know, maybe they've been injured in the past, you know, or different modalities of exercise work better or worse for different kinds of people. Like I hate running, but I'm really good at lifting heavy things. And so I found an equilibrium for me with cardio was rucking. I'll throw on a 65-pound rucksack and go, you know, do 3 to 5 miles. And that gets my heart rate up and keeps it up for at least 20 minutes, which has been interesting because in a 45-minute ruck, I realized I was having to go about 25 minutes before my heart rate would get up. And the more I rucked, the longer it took for my heart rate to actually get up, which was great from a physiological standpoint. Like I'm getting stronger. But from a PT standpoint, I've got to add more weight. I've got to climb up and down hills. I've got to go for a longer amount of time so I can actually get my heart rate up to where it's pumping, and I'm working my heart now. Right. So you
Well,
talk.
you also have to consider, and I hear what you're saying there. You also have to
Hmm.
consider you're athletic and your heart might be pumping a larger amount each time. It doesn't have to get to that. Like a lot of
Ooh.
athletes,
Hmm.
they have really slow heart rates in the
Mm,
40s and they're fine, but they're pushing so much out each time. So we're all our own individual chemistry set.
that's
If you
cool.
if you feel like you're getting a workout, chances are you are. I wouldn't be going crazy because all that extra weight is going to impact your knees. I think it's excess in moderation. Everything in moderation, even including excess. But I do like it. I carry around a heavy enough purse slash backpack here. That is a lot of wrecking for me. But I think the best exercise is walking,
Mm,
especially for any cardiac patient. And some of them have had open heart surgery, and I don't know about you, but I cut my finger, it's elevated and wrapped for 3 days, and I'm the biggest baby. If I get a blood draw, I pass out. I do. I
wow.
have to be lying down. I can watch open heart surgery, I can do all kinds of stuff, but if it's me,
Yep.
I am so my clients and my patients and people who are going through this kind of thing are my heroes, for
Mm,
sure. And you just never know what someone has gone through. I think, one of my beliefs is, if we saw in a bubble over someone's head their life story and what they'd gone through, we would all be so much kinder to each other
mm,
if we knew their story.
yep.
I was up in Maine, near your friend, a couple of weeks ago, and we were at dinner. It was our one of our last nights there, and we had a nice dinner. And we were sat next to these two guys. Come to find out, they had just ridden their bikes across country.
Wow.
And you dip your wheels in the Pacific, then you pedal 75 miles a day for 61 days. This was their last night. They were flying back the next day. And so that was magical. And then they dipped their tires in the Atlantic that morning.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have the chills. So they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I told them I have a cardiac wellness program. And this one of them said, "I'm a heart patient." I said, "Seriously? You just did this huge ride?" And he went without fear. Fear is our biggest blockade to progression.
Wow.
When you start to fear things, that's your biggest blockade. Courage is your antidote. So this guy
That's
said,
hold on. I don't want to skip over that. Courage is your antidote. That's huge, right? Fear is our biggest blockade, and courage is your antidote
"Yep,
because whether that's we're talking about you're a heart patient or you're an entrepreneur or you're a mom, right? Or whatever it is that you're doing in life,
mm-hmm,
fear is your blockade and courage is the antidote. I think that's awesome. That should be on a
yeah,
t-shirt, Mary.
yeah." Thank you. We'll look into that.
I know some people.
Yeah, okay. Um, I wrote that down too. Yeah, so this guy, he went for it. He went for it with his buddy, and they rode across the country. We're gonna have a photo bomb here in a minute. Oh, he's crawling on the floor. My significant other. You can say hi. So um So he said that he used to be a type A, and we're talking about everybody having their stories, and if we knew what their story was. So he said he was a type A personality, had his own contracting company. He'd already been through wife number one, he was on wife number two. He went over to see what was going on with the property, and he couldn't get any electrician to go work on the problem that the person called him about. He said, "I'll go do it myself." He went up on the line and he grabbed the wrong wire,
Oof.
and this it was like the third rail on the subway. He got electrocuted in his hand, and he showed me he had the star on his hand, and of course his heart got shocked and it barbecued. And so when you have that kind of burn, it can be it can be
Yeah.
fatal. And I said, "Well, where was the exit?" Because the energy comes in. He said, "Through my groin." I
Oof.
said, "Oh my God." So he was in the hospital for 9 months. And halfway through, his second wife divorced him.
Wow.
And he said, while he was in the hospital, he was doing all the talk about people's stories. I said, wow, I will remember you. And he was just the nicest guy. He said, this changed my life. It changed me for the better. I'm not the person I was. And I found that that was true with a lot of my patients and clients. They took this and used it as their fuel to change their life.
That's something I've been talking a lot about with my guys lately is stimulus and response, right? And we have a concept called a tactical pause, which is you have this external stimulus and then you have this internal response. And in between those two things, if we can just take a moment of time, even if in a life or death situation, can I take 10 seconds to just pause and think, take a deep breath, get a little bit of mental clarity on what I'm about to do, and then dive in, right? And breathing is a superpower. A lot of people forget about that. Highly oxygenated blood. I can see better, I can hear better, I can think better. And we oftentimes don't make the best decisions in the moment. Having even 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute of standoff allows us to make a better decision. And that stimulus versus response, I don't control the stimulus, but I do control the response. I get to decide how I'm going to respond to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the better my decision making is, the better the response is going to be. And so just because there's some external stimulus that knocks us off balance, right, or challenges us or makes us question everything, doesn't mean that our response needs to be just as proportionately bad. It can be proportionately good as well. We get to choose how we respond. So I like what you're talking about here is that, the defining moment could be a really good thing if your mindset is framed appropriately to see the opportunity rather than the problem.
Right, exactly. And about that tactical pause, ooh, that could have happened. That could have been so beneficial in the hospital when a patient was going south,
Yeah.
because people just run in, and sometimes there's just cacophony if the patient is coding. Whereas if everybody just literally had a moment to focus.
Mhm.
Now you don't have a lot of time, but just a moment to get together and get in their assigned roles. Sometimes people don't even know what role they're in, and
Yep.
you're supposed to have a role.
We
So
see
that would have
that
been.
we see that with our training division. Our cadre of instructors has to scream at people to breathe sometimes.
Mm-hmm,
Just take a breath, because
mm-hmm.
they'll lock up, they stop breathing, everything goes to tunnel vision, they get auditory exclusion. Now they're in the weeds, they can't do anything. And it's like, dude, breathe, take a breath. And you can watch people just take one breath and their eyes come back around the center and everything opens up again. And then they can get into the scenario, get into the situation and affect positive change. And it's amazing how applicable that is across everything. Like, pick a situation, 10 seconds of breathing will help, you know?
Well, there's some breathing that you can do
Mhm.
to take down your blood pressure, and if you're in a stressful environment, there's two different breaths I can call to mind, and these affect your vagus nerve
Mhm.
and slow down and relax your heart. So one is to breathe in through your nose, and you always want to breathe through your belly, expanding your belly. And what that does is it drops down your diaphragm, opens up the bottom of your lungs, and allows the little grape sacs, they're called alveoli, to
Mhm.
open up so you can have the gas exchange. Whereas breathing from your chest is a sympathetic nervous system, a fight or flight response, like someone scared me.
Yep.
Breathing through your belly like a little toddler, like little babies. You see their belly expand. That is going to engage your vagus nerve and allow you to go into parasympathetic response. The breaths are, one is breathing in through your nose. It's called the stacked breath. And Dr. Huberman, who's a
Mhm.
Stanford researcher, has talked about stacked breath. So you breathe in through your nose, expanding your belly like you have a balloon, and then you breathe in a little more, like you're filling it up to the top, and then exhale through your mouth. So you inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Another breathing is just deep breathing, expanding the belly through the nose, in and out, like for the count of four,
Mm-hmm.
4 and 4. What breathing through the nose does is it enables your body to engage a molecule called nitric oxide. And what nitric oxide does is it expands your arteries,
Mm.
and that helps to drop your blood pressure. So we have the capacity to actually jack up our body or jack it down if we want.
So instead of being prescribed vasodilators, I could just breathe properly and lower my
You
blood
could
pressure.
you could breathe properly
Yep.
and get this, cayenne pepper.
Mm.
Cayenne pepper vasodilates and it's anti-clotting.
Now, do we snort that? Like, how do you administer the cayenne pepper?
Well, I put mine in my coffee, TJ.
Okay. I'm being snickered at from the other people in my office right now. You can dip your feet in it?
Yeah,
Interesting.
that
Okay.
helps circulation too. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Shout out to the back there. Yeah.
Yeah. You're getting props from Nurse Mary KL.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So that has saved people having a heart attack.
Really?
I always carry 81 milligram baby aspirins on me.
Mm-hmm.
And in the hospital, when someone came in having a heart attack, you as part of the protocol, they got 325 milligrams, which is 4 baby aspirin.
Mm-hmm.
You can give that as if it's someone you know, you have to screen them. Have you had a recent surgery? Have you had a stroke, a hemorrhagic stroke? Do you have ulcers? Because you could be doing them more damage or additional damage. But if they're okay with all that, chew it. If they swallow it, it's enteric coated to protect the stomach. They won't get it. So they have to chew it, swallow it, and then that'll be antiplatelet. It'll stop the blood clotting. Because what the heart attack is a clot that's blocking off an artery to the heart.
Mm.
So what happens is plaque breaks off and the clot comes. Our first responders or platelets are like lights and sirens.
Yep.
Let's plug this thing up. And what we're doing is we're dispelling that clot. So yeah,
That
yeah.
has to be a significantly sized clot if it's blocking an artery to the heart, right? That's not a little thing.
Well, our
Well,
arteries in our heart are little, and this begs a good question here. What's the sign of heart disease in men?
gray in their beards? I don't know. What is it?
Erectile dysfunction.
Oh, interesting.
Because those arteries are also plugged. All the arteries are. So
Wow.
your brain,
Mm-hmm.
everything. It's not just your heart. So that's a first sign. And guys are reaching for a little blue pill when actually they may want to get their blood work checked and be seen by a cardiologist and then come see me.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great tidbit right there.
Right?
That, you're awesome.
Yeah. Pass that on. That's a very good tidbit.
I
Yeah.
will. I'm gonna post this on YouTube, and I'm also gonna post it into the Arte Syndicate. So
Great.
yeah, and this is cool for me because one of the so people don't know, per the previous call that we were talking about some of the efforts that you've been making to make people more aware of the fact that you exist and your success or lack thereof in that. And we talked about you need to develop a YouTube channel and you need to be bringing these things to people and have these little snippets of teaching, right? And be able to interact with people in the comment section and all of that. And I think there's a lot of value that you can bring. And I'm saying all that to preface, I'm going to ask my audience as they're watching this if they have further questions for Nurse Mary. What do you want to know? And should we bring Mary on again for another segment and continue this dialogue? And then in between now and then, you'll have your YouTube channel up so I can refer people over to you, right?
You are awesome. That would be awesome. I would love to come back and talk and answer questions and help people. It's my passion.
And
It's
you're
my
good at it.
passion.
And I want to help you do this, which is why we're doing this, because I think you have a gifting, a talent, a delight in this, and you can actually help people and actually save people's lives. And with the resources that you can bring to bear, the knowledge that you have, the experience that you have, you're not pontificating. You're not like I read this in a blog post one time. You actually know this stuff and you do this stuff, and so one professional to another, I appreciate what you're doing with this. And I think the world needs to know, which is why I told you get the YouTube channel up, right? And then we can cross post and help each other and promote each other and all of that. And so this is fun for me because we're talking medical stuff, but we're also actually talking like content creation and biz dev at the same time, which I get off on. I'm a huge fan of that stuff. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have been since I was 17 years old. One of the things that people tell me on my teams all the time, it's a byword, is no new projects. We've got so much stuff going on already. You know, you can't have a new project unless you cross 2 off the list, because we're always developing new things. So it's a blessing to me to be able to help you in this journey and to also learn some stuff from you. Like, I didn't know about the cayenne pepper thing. That's awesome, you know. So
There's so many things that we can use that are just unknown, that I one of my clients, he was supposed to have open heart surgery. He'd had a heart attack, his stents were blocked. They said, oh, you're going to have open heart. And he said, heck no. And he found me, and he reversed everything in 4 months. He was a diabetic for 9 years. He's no longer diabetic. His
wow,
family can't believe it. He was on 16 pills a day. He
wow,
now takes half of one pill.
wow.
And he's lost 40 pounds without trying because his body chemistry went into alignment. And he's happy as a clam. So, and he's the best guy. He's the greatest guy. And I'm so lucky because my clients are just the right people are coming to me.
Mhm.
And like we talked on Andy talked last night, that you have to be who you are. You have to be transparent with your values. And one of my values is critical thinking. I like to inspire people by questions to have them critically think and have that aha moment.
Mm.
Like, oh, wow, like the cayenne pepper. Oh, wow, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
TJ, yeah, yeah. So I would love to come back, and thank you so much for having me and taking me under your wing in this process. And shout out to your people. I'm here for you, and let's continue this.
Well, I am positive the Bear Nation is going to love you, and that this is going to be really good. And in the meanwhile, people can go to heart2soulcw.com, right? That's where they can find you.
Yeah.
So heart to soul Charlie Whiskey CW.com. You can find Nurse Mary there. And then as we continue to develop, we'll have the Nurse Mary channel and all that, all the other things, and it'll be incredible. And so for sure, if you're watching this right now, leave a comment for Nurse Mary. And what other questions do you have? And so when Nurse Mary comes back for episode 2 of this, we can have some prompts from the audience. I think that'd be awesome. And so, Mary, you rock. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, TJ.
Shalom.